Okay, so we are about to dive into how one of the most, and I mean most, embarrassing language mistakes ever made actually became a masterclass in learning English. Yeah, you can forget your boring old textbooks. This is all about turning a spectacular, cringe-worthy failure into an absolute superpower.
And there it is, the sentence that started it all. Just try to imagine this for a second. You summon every ounce of courage you have to order a simple pastry in Paris, and that is what comes out of your mouth. This single sentence, folks, sparked a wild journey from total public shame to, believe it or not, linguistic legend. So, let's get into it. Let's set the scene for what we're calling the Great Éclair Incident. And listen, this isn't just some story about a simple mispronunciation. Oh no. This is a full-blown 3-act play, covering humiliation, a period of, let's call it hibernation, and finally, a truly heroic redemption.
And the fallout, the collateral damage was immense. This was not a quiet little mistake. We're talking the baker's brain just completely short-circuited. A grandmother literally screamed, "My God!" And a nearby child was probably emotionally scarred for life. This is the kind of mistake that really sticks with you, you know?
This timeline really shows the whole journey perfectly. First, you have the incident itself. Then comes a solid week of pure shame, powered entirely by hazelnut spreads straight from the jar. But the most important part is that 6-month gap. That was a time of intense studying and planning, all building up to one final showdown.
Can you even imagine the sheer guts this took? To walk back into the scene of your greatest humiliation and just own it completely? This isn't just an apology, right? It's a full-on declaration. It's him taking total control of the story in perfect, confident English. What a legend.
And here it is, the payoff. This is the best part. The baker doesn't just forgive him, he celebrates him. The mistake becomes immortalized. It's transformed from this moment of pure horror into a best-selling pastry. Now, this is what happens when you embrace your screw-ups instead of running away from them. You become a legend.
So, the big question is, how did he do it, right? How did he build up that level of confidence and fluency in just 6 months? Well, it started by turning simple grammar into something magnificent. So welcome everyone to Grammar for Dramatic Vampires.
Okay, the key here is all about adding detail and drama. A normal person just says, "My phone died." A linguistic legend, on the other hand, builds an entire backstory. By using these long, winding relative clauses, you're adding layers of context and, let's be honest, a little bit of self-pity, which makes your sentences complex, memorable, and just really, really funny.
All right, technique number 2 is inversion. Now, it sounds super complicated, but it's really not. It just means you flip your word order around to create a dramatic effect. So instead of a boring old statement, you get this. This absolute masterpiece of theatrical despair. It's formal, it's powerful, and it just screams, "I have a high command of the English language."
Now, a very, very important piece of advice here. This is a superpower. And you know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility. This technique is for telling amazing stories and making a huge impact, not for, asking your boss for a raise. Unless, of course, your boss happens to be Count Dracula. Then, go for it.
Okay, so how can you use these newfound powers to conquer the final boss of English learning, the dreaded proficiency exam? This isn't about just squeaking by with a pass, it's about applying a bit of beautiful chaos to a very, very rigid system. This slide basically decodes one of the test's classic tricks. The IELTS listening section is notorious for stuff like this. They'll give you a piece of information and then they'll correct it 2, maybe 3 times. So the pro tip here is simple. That first answer they give you, it's almost always a trap. Just wait for the final, definitive one.
This is pure genius. Seriously. The prompt was probably something like, "Describe a time you helped someone." Most people would give a really boring, predictable answer. But this answer, it starts out normal and then just descends into absolute beautiful chaos. It's unforgettable, it shows off incredible vocabulary and storytelling skills, and it totally breaks the monotony for the poor examiner. And this is a perfect example of how to grab the reader's attention from the very first sentence of an essay. The topic is advertising, and instead of a boring intro like, "Advertising can be harmful," you paint this vivid, aggressive, and hilarious picture. It immediately sets a super strong tone and proves you can think creatively.
And here's the proof that this whole approach actually works. The examiner didn't just give a high score.
They gave a personal endorsement of the beautiful madness. They actually connected with the personality behind the words. And that's how you get top marks. You don't just answer the question, you make a real impression.
So you've seen the techniques, but how do you actually practice them? How do you make them a natural, automatic part of how you speak? Well, let's look at the single most powerful tool for building this kind of fluency every single day.
The whole concept is so simple, but it's totally transformative. You just take the most boring parts of your day, making toast, your commute, waiting in line, and you write about them as if they're the most dramatic events in all of human history. Think of it as your personal gym for advanced grammar and vocabulary.
Just look at this example. It starts with a simple action, right? Buttering toast. But it uses inversion, little did I know, and this vivid dramatic language, destiny disguised as a pigeon, to elevate it into an epic tale. If you do this every day, pretty soon you'll start thinking this way automatically.
All right, we've covered the incident, the grammar, the exam hacks, and the daily practice. Now, it's your turn. Here is your official homework assignment to start your own journey into magnificent linguistic chaos.
These are your first 3 challenges. They're designed to make you use these dramatic structures in low-stakes, everyday situations. And remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. It's to just play with the language, have some fun, and see what happens.
So after all of this, we really come to the final, most crucial question. What is the real takeaway from the story of Orgasm Guy? What actually changes when you stop being afraid of embarrassment and you start seeing your mistakes as opportunities?
That's what happens. Fear gets replaced by fluency. Perfectionism gets replaced by personality. You stop worrying so much about saying the wrong thing and you start actually enjoying the process of communicating, of telling stories, of just being funny and engaging in a new language.
And that, my friends, is your mission. The lesson of the L'orgasmique Éclair is that the most memorable moments in language learning don't come from perfect grammar. They come from bold, hilarious, unforgettable mistakes. So go out there, be bold, be dramatic, and go cause some beautiful chaos.